The big metal doors opened with a loud hiss. Jake Morrison stepped into the huge space station that floated around Jupiter. His boots made small clicking sounds on the shiny floor. Behind him, 200 other humans walked slowly, looking around with wide eyes. They had never seen anything like this before. The station was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Jake could barely see the top. Strange lights floated in the air without any wires or supports. Alien creatures moved past them on floating platforms. Some had blue skin and 4 arms. Others looked like walking crystals that sparkled in the light. A few had tentacles instead of legs. Jake looked down at the paper in his hand. It said he would work in the engine rooms of Coalition ships. The work was dangerous, but the pay was good. More importantly, Earth would get protection from other alien races that might want to harm them. Lisa Campbell stood next to Jake. She was 25 years old and had studied engineering in college. Her paper said she would work on power systems. Lisa watched a group of tall, thin aliens walk by. They moved like dancers, their long limbs bending in ways that human bodies could not. Their skin was pale blue and seemed to glow slightly. "Look at that," whispered Ben Parker, pointing to a massive screen on the wall. It showed a map of the galaxy with thousands of dots representing different star systems. Most of the dots were green, which meant they belonged to the Coalition. Only a few were red, showing systems that were still independent. The humans had been traveling for 3 months to reach this station. Earth was far away from the center of Coalition space. Their home planet was small and unimportant compared to the massive worlds that the aliens controlled. Earth had only recently learned how to travel between stars, and their ships were slow and clumsy compared to alien technology. A tall alien approached the group of humans. He was one of the crystal-like beings called Zephyrians. His body was made of what looked like living glass that changed colors as he moved. When he spoke, his voice came from a small device that hung around his neck. "Welcome to Station Prime," the alien said. His translated voice sounded cold and businesslike. "I am Administrator Veltar. You will be assigned to work crews based on your skills and physical abilities. The Coalition has great need for workers who can perform tasks in dangerous environments." The humans listened carefully. They knew that this was an important moment. For 50 years, Earth had been asking to join the Coalition. The aliens had always said no. Humans were too primitive, too violent, too short-lived to be useful. But recently, the Coalition had changed their minds. Not because they wanted humans as equals, but because they needed workers for jobs that were too dangerous for their own people. "You will work in areas where heat, radiation, and toxic gases make it unsafe for Coalition citizens," Veltar continued. "Your shorter lifespans make you suitable for this type of work. If you serve faithfully, your planet will receive protection and small amounts of advanced technology." Jake felt his anger rising, but he kept his face calm. The alien was basically saying that human lives were worth less than alien lives. They were being recruited to do the dirty work that no one else wanted to do. But Jake also knew that this was Earth's only chance to learn about advanced technology and become part of the galactic community. Amy Foster raised her hand. She was a computer programmer from California. "What kind of training will we receive?" she asked. "You will learn basic operation of Coalition equipment," Veltar replied. "Nothing more complex than necessary for your assigned duties. Advanced technology requires intelligence and long-term thinking that your species has not yet developed." Many of the humans looked angry at this insult, but they stayed quiet. They all knew why they were here. Earth needed this opportunity, even if it meant swallowing their pride. Dr. Maria Santos had been a medical researcher on Earth. She was older than most of the other humans. Already 43 years old? She had volunteered because she wanted to learn about alien medicine. Her assignment paper said she would work in hospital maintenance, cleaning medical equipment and disposing of waste. "The work shifts will be 12 hours long," Veltar explained. "You will have basic living quarters and adequate food. Medical care will be provided for work-related injuries." "Any questions?" Carl Jenkins, a former construction worker, asked, "What happens if we want to go back to Earth?" "Transport to Earth is available every 5 years," Veltar answered. However, few humans choose to return. Life in Coalition space, even as workers, is far superior to the primitive conditions on your homeworld. The humans were then divided into groups based on their assignments. Jake found himself with 30 other people. Who would work on ship engines? Lisa was assigned to a power plant maintenance crew. Ben would work in food processing facilities. Dr. Santos joined a group heading to medical stations. As they waited for transport to their new jobs, the humans talked quietly among themselves. They all felt the same mixture of excitement and humiliation. They were getting the chance to see the galaxy and learn about incredible technology. But they were also being treated like second-class beings who were only good for dangerous manual labor. "We just need to be patient," Jake told his group. "We'll work hard, learn everything we can, and prove that humans are more capable than they think." Rachel Adams, a young woman who had studied computer systems, nodded in agreement. "My grandmother always said that if you want to change someone's mind about you, you have to show them, not tell them." The transport ships arrived to take the humans to their new assignments. As Jake looked out the window at the alien vessels, he made a silent promise. Humans would not remain servants forever. They would learn, adapt, and find ways to become truly equal partners in the galactic community. It might take decades, but humans were patient and determined. The Coalition had no idea what they were really getting when they recruited these primitive workers from Earth. They saw weak, short-lived beings who were useful only for dangerous labor. They failed to understand that humans had survived and thrived on a dangerous planet by being adaptable, creative, and incredibly stubborn. The aliens thought they were getting simple workers. What they actually got was something much more valuable and much more dangerous than they could imagine. 25 years had passed since the first humans arrived at Coalition space. Jake Morrison was now 50 years old and had gray hair at his temples. He stood in the engine room of the massive Coalition warship called Galaxy's Pride. The room was filled with the humming sound of powerful machines that could move the ship faster than light. Around him, 30 human workers checked the complicated systems that kept the ship running. The engine room was hot and filled with dangerous radiation. The alien crew members could only stay here for a few minutes at a time, even with their protective suits. But humans had learned to work here for hours. "Check the antimatter containment field," Jake told his team. "The readings look strange." Lisa Campbell, now an experienced engineer, crawled into a narrow space between two huge machines. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. She had learned to read the alien symbols and understand how their technology worked. The Coalition had trained her to do basic maintenance, but over the years she had figured out much more. "The field generator is starting to fail," Lisa called out, "but I can fix it." "Give me 20 minutes, Jake nodded. When Lisa said she could fix something, she always could. The alien engineers who designed this ship had said the field generator could not be repaired, only replaced. But Lisa had found a way to make it work better than new. In another part of the ship, Rachel Adams worked in the computer control room. She sat in front of screens showing thousands of lines of code. The Coalition had taught her to run simple programs and check for basic errors. But Rachel had spent years learning how their computer systems really worked. The ship's artificial intelligence had been acting slowly lately. The alien technicians said it was normal aging and could not be fixed. But Rachel had found the real problem. The AI was trying to process too much information at once. She had written a new program that would help it work faster. "Computer, run diagnostic program Adams 47, she said quietly. The AI responded immediately. "Program running. Efficiency increased by 37%. "Thank you, Rachel," Rachel smiled. The AI had learned to trust her more than its alien creators. It often asked her for help with problems that the Coalition technicians could not solve. On the agricultural deck, Ben Parker supervised the food-growing systems. The Coalition had originally designed these systems to grow basic crops that could feed the crew, but Ben had made many improvements. He had introduced new growing methods that Earth farmers had used for thousands of years. "The tomatoes are ready for harvest," said one of his human workers, a young man named Danny Rodriguez. Ben examined the plants. They were bigger and healthier than anything the coalition had grown before. He had taught the growing systems to rotate crops, mix different plants together, and use natural fertilizers. The food production had increased by 60%. Good work, Ben said. Send a report to the ship's commander. Tell him we'll have enough fresh food for the next 3 months instead of just 2. The alien commander would be pleased, but he would never know that the improvement came from human knowledge. The official reports always said that the systems were working within normal parameters. Dr. Maria Santos worked in the medical bay, but not as a doctor. The coalition had assigned her to clean medical equipment and dispose of medical waste. It was considered too dangerous for alien medical staff to handle contaminated materials. But Maria had been watching and learning. She had seen the alien doctors struggle with a new disease that was affecting coalition soldiers. The disease caused fever and weakness, and the alien medicine was not working. Maria had an idea about what might help, but she was not allowed to treat patients. Instead, she left her research notes where the alien doctors would find them. She made it look like the ideas came from their own medical databases. Within a week, the alien doctors had developed a treatment that saved hundreds of lives. They never knew that the cure came from human medical knowledge in the ship's maintenance tunnels. Carl Jenkins led a team of humans who kept the life support systems running. These tunnels were too small for most alien species, and the work was dangerous. Toxic gases and electrical hazards made it a job that only humans could do safely. The air recycling system is making strange noises, Carl told his team. Amy, check the filters. Tony, look at the power connections. Amy Foster crawled through a narrow pipe to reach the air filters. She had been working on these systems for 20 years and knew them better than anyone. The filters were clogged with dust and needed to be cleaned, but Amy had also noticed something else. Carl, the system design is not efficient, she called out. I can modify it to work better and use less power. Do it, Carl replied, but make sure it looks like a normal repair. Amy made the modifications carefully. She had learned to improve coalition systems without making it obvious. The changes she made would save energy and make the air cleaner, but the official reports would just say that routine maintenance had been performed. All across the ship, humans were doing similar work. They fixed things that aliens said could not be fixed. They improved systems that aliens thought were perfect. They solved problems that alien experts had given up on. The coalition crew members lived in comfortable quarters and ate good food. They attended meetings and made important decisions. They never thought about who kept their ship running, who grew their food, or who cleaned up their messes, but the humans knew. They knew that the mighty coalition warship would stop working without them. They knew that the alien technology was not as advanced as everyone believed. They knew that human creativity and determination were holding the entire coalition together. Jake looked around the engine room at his team. These humans had started as simple workers doing dangerous jobs, but they had become the real experts who kept everything running. The aliens still treated them like servants, but Jake knew the truth. Humans were not just workers anymore. They were the backbone of coalition civilization, and someday the aliens would learn just how much they depended on the people they had underestimated. The alarm bells were ringing loudly in the mining station above planet Kepler 442b. Carl Jenkins ran through the dark corridors, his boots splashing through puddles of water that had leaked from broken pipes. Behind him, other human workers were shouting and trying to help their injured friends. Get the medical kit, Carl yelled to Danny Rodriguez, who was already pulling emergency supplies from a storage locker. 8 humans lay on the floor of the mining tunnel. The ceiling had collapsed during the morning shift, crushing them under tons of rock and metal. They had been working in the deepest part of the mine, extracting rare crystals that the coalition needed for their advanced computers. Carl knelt beside his friend Amy Foster, who was barely breathing. Her leg was twisted at a strange angle, and blood was running from a cut on her forehead. Stay with me, Amy, he whispered. Help is coming, but Carl knew that help would be slow. The Coalition medical team was on the upper levels of the station, and they moved slowly when humans were injured. Human lives were not considered as important as alien lives. Dr. Maria Santos arrived with her medical supplies. She was officially just a maintenance worker, but she had been secretly studying Coalition medicine for years. She quickly checked each injured person and began treating the worst injuries. "This should not have happened," Maria said angrily as she worked. "The safety supports I designed would have prevented this collapse." Carl nodded grimly. 3 weeks ago, he had submitted a report about dangerous conditions in the deep mines. He had designed new support beams that would make the tunnels safer. But the Morvac mining supervisor, Director Gorthan, had rejected the proposal. He said it was too expensive and not necessary. "Humans are replaceable," Gorthan had told Carl. "The crystals are not." Now 8 humans were badly injured, and Amy might die. All because the alien supervisor had ignored human safety warnings. Director Gorthan arrived at the accident site 2 hours later. He was a large Morvac with thick, armored skin and 4 arms. His species was known for being tough and practical, but also cruel and greedy. "Clean up this mess," Gorthan ordered. "Production must continue. We have quotas to meet." 8 of my people are hurt," Carl said, trying to control his anger. "Amy needs to be taken to the main medical station immediately." "Human medical care is expensive," Gorthan replied coldly. "Minor injuries can be treated here. The mining schedule will not be delayed." Carl stared at the alien supervisor. He had worked for the Coalition for 30 years, always trying to be respectful and helpful. But watching Amy suffer while this creature worried about mining quotas made something snap inside him. "This accident could have been prevented," Carl said loudly. "I submitted safety recommendations that you ignored. Now my friends are hurt because you care more about profits than human lives." Gorthan's 4 eyes glowed with anger. "You forget your place, human. You are here to work, not to make demands. If you cannot do your job properly, we will find others who can." The other human workers had gathered around, listening to the conversation. They had all heard similar words before. No matter how hard they worked, no matter how much they helped the Coalition, they were always treated as disposable servants. "We know our place," said Ben Parker, who had been working in the station's food production area. "We know that this station would fall apart without us. We know that you need us more than you want to admit." "Silence!" Gorthan shouted. "Return to work immediately or face punishment." But the humans did not move. They stood together looking at their injured friends and thinking about years of insults and mistreatment. They remembered all the times their safety concerns had been ignored. They remembered all the innovations and improvements they had made that were credited to alien supervisors. Rachel Adams had been monitoring the station's communication systems. She had access to the quantum relay network that connected all Coalition facilities. While the argument continued, she quietly sent a message to human workers throughout the galaxy. The message was simple. "Mining accident on Kepler 442b. 8 humans injured due to ignored safety warnings. Director Gorthan refuses proper medical care. Situation critical." Within hours, the message had reached human workers on thousands of stations, ships, and planets. They all knew Carl Jenkins and his team. They all understood what it meant when Coalition supervisors ignored human safety on the warship Galaxy's Pride. Jake Morrison read the message on his private communication device. He looked around the engine room where his team was working. These humans had made the ship more efficient and reliable than ever before, but they were still treated like servants. "Gather everyone for a meeting," Jake told Lisa Campbell quietly. "It's time to remind the Coalition about human value." Lisa understood immediately. She had been expecting this day for years. The humans had been patient, learning and improving Coalition systems while being treated badly, but there was a limit to what they would accept on agricultural stations. Mining facilities, research centers, and military ships across the galaxy, human workers were receiving the same message. They were learning about the accident and the cruel response from Director Gorthan. More importantly, they were remembering that they were not alone. There were millions of humans working throughout Coalition space. They all had the same skills, the same knowledge, and the same frustrations. Tony Chun, working on a power station near the galactic core, called his supervisor over. "Sir, I need to request a transfer to safer duties." "Transfer?" the alien supervisor asked, surprised. "You have been working here for 15 years. Why do you want to leave now?" "The work is too dangerous for humans," Tony said calmly. "I think I would be better suited for simpler tasks that match my limited abilities." The supervisor was confused. Tony was one of the most skilled workers on the station. He could fix problems that no one else could solve. But if he wanted easier work, that was fine. Similar conversations were happening throughout Coalition space. Human workers were politely requesting transfers to safer, simpler jobs. They were not complaining or protesting. They were just asking to be moved to work that was more appropriate for their species. The Coalition supervisors were puzzled but not worried. If humans wanted to do easier work, they would let them. There were plenty of simple jobs available. They had no idea that they were about to learn the true value of human workers. The Coalition Council met in emergency session for the third time that month. High Administrator Veltar looked older and more tired than ever before. His crystal-like skin had lost its bright glow, and his movements were slow and uncertain. "The situation is getting worse," he announced to the other council members. "Production is down 40% across all sectors. Transportation systems are failing. Power stations are operating at reduced capacity." Council member Zethka, a four-armed Morvik, slammed his fist on the table. "This started when we gave the humans easier jobs. They must be sabotaging our systems out of spite." "The investigation reports show no evidence of sabotage," Veltar replied wearily. "The humans are following all protocols exactly. They are doing their new jobs properly. Then why is everything breaking down?" demanded Council member Prethan. A tall Kefter with metallic skin, Veltar activated a holographic display, showing system failures across Coalition space. Red warning lights blinked on hundreds of stations and ships. The technical reports all say the same thing. Equipment is failing faster than it can be repaired. Systems that worked perfectly for decades are suddenly unreliable. On the mining station where the accident had happened, Director Gorthan was facing his own crisis. The crystal extraction had dropped to almost zero. The mining equipment kept breaking down, and the alien technicians could not fix it quickly enough. "Where is the human maintenance team?" Gorthan demanded from his assistant. "They were transferred to food service duties, as you requested," the assistant replied. "They are now working in the cafeteria and cleaning areas." "Get them back to the mines immediately." "Sir, the transfer orders came from Coalition Command. The humans requested safer work assignments after the accident. The Council approved all requests." Gorthan cursed in his native language. The humans had been maintaining the mining equipment for 20 years. They knew every bolt, every wire, every component. Without them, the complex machinery was failing constantly. Meanwhile, Carl Jenkins was mopping floors in the station cafeteria. He worked slowly and carefully, making sure every surface was perfectly clean. When alien workers walked by, he nodded politely and continued his simple task. "The mining equipment is broken again," one alien technician complained to his friend. As they ate lunch, "We cannot figure out what is wrong with it." Carl continued mopping, but he listened carefully. He knew exactly what was wrong with the equipment. The quantum drill bits needed to be recalibrated every 6 hours, but the alien technicians were only checking them once per day. The power regulators required a special cleaning solution that Carl had developed, but the aliens were using standard cleaners that damaged the sensitive components, but Carl said nothing. He was just a floor cleaner now. Equipment maintenance was not his job anymore on the warship Galaxy's Pride. Jake Morrison was assigned to wash dishes in the crew kitchen. The job was safe and simple, exactly what he had requested. He scrubbed plates and cups while listening to the ship's alarm systems beeping constantly. "The engines are running rough again," he heard one alien engineer tell another. We have tried everything, but the power output keeps fluctuating. Jake knew the problem. The antimatter containment field needed to be adjusted every few hours to maintain stable output. He had developed a technique for fine-tuning the field that kept the engines running smoothly. But the alien engineers did not know his technique, and Jake was not allowed to help them anymore. Lisa Campbell was now cleaning the computer control room instead of operating the systems. She watched the alien technicians struggle with programs that used to work perfectly. The ship's artificial intelligence was responding slowly to commands, and some systems were not responding at all. "The AI seems to be confused," one alien technician said to his colleague. "It keeps asking for programs that do not exist in our database." Lisa smiled quietly as she dusted the computer screens. The AI was asking for her custom programs, the ones she had written to help it work more efficiently. But those programs had been removed when she left her technical position. The AI was like a person who had suddenly lost important memories. Dr. Maria Santos was now working in the medical storage area, organizing supplies and cleaning equipment. She watched alien doctors struggle with diseases that she had helped them cure years ago. The treatments that had worked before were not working anymore, and the doctors did not understand why. "We need to contact the medical research station," one doctor said desperately. "This disease is spreading and our standard treatments are not effective." Maria continued organizing medical supplies. She knew that the research station was having the same problems. The human workers there had also been transferred to safer jobs. The alien researchers were trying to continue their work, but they were missing the human insights that had made their treatments successful. Rachel Adams was cleaning communication equipment instead of operating it. The quantum relay network was experiencing delays and connection problems. Messages that used to be delivered instantly were taking hours to reach their destinations. "The communication system is degrading," an alien technician reported to his supervisor. "We have checked all the hardware, but we cannot find the problem." Rachel knew the problem. The quantum relay network needed constant fine-tuning to maintain stable connections across such vast distances. She had developed monitoring programs that automatically adjusted the system parameters. But those programs had been removed when she left her position. All across Coalition space, similar scenes were playing out. Human workers were doing simple, safe jobs while watching the systems they used to maintain fall apart. They were not sabotaging anything or refusing to work. They were just no longer able to use the skills and knowledge they had developed over decades. The Coalition had depended on human expertise without realizing it. They had thought that humans were just following instructions and doing basic maintenance. They had not understood that human creativity and problem-solving abilities were essential to keeping their advanced technology working. Now they were learning the hard way. The mighty Coalition, with all their advanced technology and superior intelligence, could not function without the primitive humans they had treated as servants. The lesson was becoming clear. Respect and partnership were more valuable than dominance and control. But it might already be too late to fix the damage that had been done. The Coalition Council chamber was filled with the sound of desperate voices. Emergency reports were coming in from every sector of the galaxy. Food shortages, power failures, transportation breakdowns, and communication blackouts were spreading like a disease through Coalition space. High Administrator Veltar stood before the massive holographic display showing the crisis. Red warning lights covered almost every Coalition system. Production had dropped to 20% of normal levels. Several outer colonies had lost life support systems. Military ships were stranded with engine failures. "We have no choice," Veltar announced to the Council. "We must ask the humans to return to their technical positions." "This is humiliating," growled Council Member Zethka. "We are the most advanced species in the galaxy. We should not need help from primitives." "Advanced species who cannot fix their own technology," replied Council Member Prethan bitterly. "The humans have been keeping our civilization running for decades, and we never knew it." Veltar activated his communication device. "Send a message to the human worker coordinator. Tell him we want to meet at Lee." Danny Rodriguez had become the unofficial leader of human workers after Carl Jenkins was injured in the mining accident. He was 45 years old and had worked in coalition space for 20 years. Now he sat across from the most powerful leaders in the galaxy, and they were asking him for help. The coalition faces a temporary technical crisis, Veltar explained, trying to maintain his dignity. We would appreciate human assistance in resolving these issues. Danny looked calmly at the alien leaders. What kind of assistance? We need your people to return to their previous positions, Veltar said. The maintenance and technical work they were doing before. I thought that work was too dangerous for humans, Danny replied. That is why we requested transfers to safer jobs. Veltar's crystalline skin flickered with embarrassment. Perhaps we were overcautious about safety concerns. Your people seem capable of handling technical responsibilities. Capable? Danny raised an eyebrow. 3 months ago, Director Gorthon told us we were replaceable. He said human lives were not important. Now you say we are capable? The council members shifted uncomfortably. They had spent decades treating humans as inferior beings, and now they needed to ask for help from those same people. We may have underestimated human abilities, Veltar admitted reluctantly. We are prepared to offer improved working conditions. What kind of improvements? Danny asked. Better food, larger living quarters, increased safety protocols, Veltar listed quickly. Danny shook his head. That is not enough. We want real changes. What do you want? Council member Zethka demanded impatiently. First, we want representation on the Coalition Council, Danny said calmly. Humans make up 30% of the workforce, but we have no voice in decisions that affect us. Impossible, Zethka snorted. The council is for advanced species. Only, then enjoy fixing your own machines, Danny replied, standing up to leave. Wait, Veltar said quickly. We can discuss representation. What else do you want? Danny sat back down. We want access to advanced education and technology. We want to learn, not just follow orders. Some access might be possible, Veltar sighed carefully. We want fair wages for our work, Danny continued, and we want recognition for our contributions. When a human solves a problem or makes an improvement, we want credit for it. These are significant demands, Councilmember Prithen said. These are basic rights, Danny corrected. We are not asking for charity. We are asking to be treated as equals. The council members looked at each other. Outside the chamber, another emergency alert was sounding. A major power station had failed, leaving 3 star systems without energy. They were running out of time. If we agree to these terms, Veltar said slowly, how quickly can your people return to work? That depends on how sincere your agreement is, Danny replied. We have learned not to trust promises that can be broken easily. What would convince you of our sincerity? Veltar asked. Start with the small things, Danny said. Promote Dr. Maria Santos to head of medical research. She has been developing treatments for years, but alien doctors get the credit. Make Rachel Adams the chief of computer systems. She knows your networks better than anyone. And make Carl Jenkins the supervisor of mining operations, Danny added. Firmly, he has been doing that job for 20 years while Director Gorthon took credit for his work. Veltar nodded slowly. These appointments can be made immediately. Then we can start with emergency repairs, Danny said. But the larger changes must be implemented within 6 months, or we will request transfers again. The negotiations continued for hours. The coalition leaders had to accept that their empire depended on human knowledge and skills. They had to admit that they had been wrong to treat humans as inferior beings. Within days, human workers across the galaxy were returning to their technical positions, but now they worked as recognized experts, not as servants. Dr. Maria Santos became the first human to hold a senior position in coalition medical research. Rachel Adams was promoted to chief systems administrator. Carl Jenkins, recovered from his injuries, became the director of mining operations. The changes were not easy for the coalition. Many alien workers resented having to treat humans as equals. Some species threatened to leave the coalition rather than accept human leadership. But the alternative was the collapse of their civilization. Jake Morrison stood in the engine room of the Galaxy's Pride. Watching his team work, they were no longer just maintenance workers. They were engineers, recognized for their expertise and creativity. The ship was running better than ever, and everyone knew it was because of human innovation. "The containment field is stable," Lisa Campbell reported. "Efficiency is up 15% from last week." "Good work," Jake replied. "Send a full report to the bridge. Make sure it includes your recommendations for further improvements." The Galaxy had learned a hard lesson. Advanced technology was not enough without the knowledge and creativity to use it properly. The Coalition had survived only because they had been unknowingly dependent on human expertise. Now humans were true partners in the galactic community. They had earned their place not through violence or threats, but through competence and determination. The species that had been considered primitive and worthless had proven that they were essential to the future of galactic civilization. The Coalition would never again make the mistake of underestimating any species. They had learned that respect and cooperation were more valuable than dominance and control. The Galaxy was stronger because of this lesson, and humanity had found its place among the stars.